my tomato sprouts got wrecked. We're going to talk about what happened, what I'm replanting, and is it too late? It is late April and there's about 3 weeks until my last frost when I can finally plant things out. I'm Jessie from Onion Grass Gardens. Let's talk about it. So the series of unfortunate events that led to this. Well, first of all, my greenhouse was destroyed this year by tornado winds. The tornado was just south of us, but it was 80-mile-an-hour winds and it destroyed my little itty bitty greenhouse. As such, all of my sprouts are set up on a shelf by a south-facing window and trying to get as much natural light as I can to them. However, I keep having to bring all of my starts outside, which you can see kind of off to the side here. And I'm doing that just to get them as much natural light as I can on the nice days. So, but when I do so, sometimes it can be a little breezy and warm, and I water them pretty well to make sure they don't get dried out. And those series of events are, as you will see, what led to my tomato failure. Today I am reseeding some tomatoes. I had this thing happen that I really can't explain, where I had tomato starts already going, and one day I decided to put them outside. Now, that's a pretty normal thing for me to do. We keep our house at about 68 degrees. The day was about 70 degrees, and it had a light breeze. It was mildly sunny. And this is what happened to my tomato starts. They all look pretty sad. Well, I can't say all of them. Some of them are still doing just fine. I have no explanation. At first I thought it was the soil, but some things that are in the same soil are doing just fine and some aren't. It was a perfectly mild day to put them outside, so I really don't have any explanation for it. I also had 2 jalapenos just keel over and die in the same incident, while others were just fine. So I guess maybe we're just rooting out the week. I don't know. But at any rate, I am going to reseed some of these tomatoes in solo cups just to make sure I get them. And I'm also going to be planting another variety. My mom saved some seeds on some paper towels, and it looked just like this. As a side, it's important to note what my tomato goals are this year. Everyone has certain goals, and my goals do not include canning currently for this year. So my goals include cherry tomatoes for fresh eating, tomatoes that are bred for drying, because I have a few soups and dishes that I like to add dried tomatoes to. Also tomatoes for slicing, and finally salsa, because we love salsa. So if you're wondering how I came to the conclusion of choosing the breeds of tomatoes that I chose, I did so with those goals in mind. A few of the cherry tomatoes that I'm planting today. I've got Sun Gold tomatoes. You can see my cats chewed on the packet. These were originally a botanical interest seed. That was the original packet, and those have done really well for me in this region in East Tennessee. This is one that I called the Tennessee Gold. It ended up, it was from a volunteer that I got that was clearly some kind of sun gold cross that happened in my garden, and it came up on its own. But it's a lighter yellow and a little bit smaller than a sun gold tomato. And also, this one is I call this one 100 Suns. It's likely a cross between a Sweet 100 and either a Sun Gold or a Tiny Tim. And I don't know which. It was growing out of my compost pile. I have had seeds pop up for 3 years running, I think. This being year number 4, but I've also been collecting seeds. So I really look forward to seeing how these come out. And these tend to be more of an orangey red tomato. They're on the small side for a cherry tomato, but super prolific and seem to do well in my yard. I'm also transplanting some of my tiny Tims. These plants are not your commercial tiny Tims. I got these through the Seed Savers exchange from a gardener who called these tiny Tims. If you look up tiny Tims and try to get them commercially, you'll get a small red tomato. And these are a small yellow tomato, maybe borderline yellowy orange. And they make a pretty darn big plant with a lot of small cherry tomatoes. Not quite so small as spoon tomatoes, but definitely smaller than your average cherry. So I'm going to break these apart since these 3 are doing so well. I'm going to put them in their own containers, give their roots a little more room. If you're on the Seed Savers exchange, this is the packet that I got these from. As you can see, these were packaged in the year 2011, which made these seeds 14 years old, and they still sprouted just fine. So don't even worry about sprouting old seeds. But I don't know if the tomato still has the designation number of 183, but you could always check it out and see if it does. Now you might say, Jess, that does not look like rich composty soil. That looks like your average soil that you're working with outside. And yeah, I've mixed together some compost and the native soil. This is a habit I brought with me from California because when you're working with clay soil that gets really hard, in my experience, if you just use this nice fluffy organic matter and you put it straight into that hard clay, what ends up happening is that clay acts like a pot, and it ends up being kind of sealed in there, and a lot of times the plant's roots will rot inside of there because it's not draining well. But when I mix some native soil with the composted soil, the plants end up doing better in the long run, and they're in for kind of less of a shock when they're put into that clay soil. So I just find that my plants do better that way. I have my own theories about why, but mostly I think it's just for having that sort of commonality between the two soils. Those are happy little plants. One of the next things I'm planting is some Principe Borghese tomatoes, and I grew these last year and they came out really well. They were only one of two varieties that withstood the really extreme weather conditions we had, and that was another botanical interest seed. And we ended up with a whole bunch of dried tomatoes because that's what those tomatoes are bred for. And so they were really successful, and I plan on doing them again. Now, just to be clear, I am not sponsored by any seed company. I'm just letting you guys know where I got these things, so if you want to try them too, you can. The other variety that did really well in our extreme conditions was Dad's Sunset. The original seed I got from Baker Creek. It's a nice big round yellow tomato, just a really nice slicer. It had a really great flavor here. And I say here because one of the things I've noticed since moving from California to Tennessee is that the soil and the amount of rain changes the taste of the flavor of the tomatoes. And so some of the tomatoes that I thought I loved in California, I don't love in Tennessee. Now these green prints, they're similar to a zebra stripe, the green zebras. Personally, I like them way better. This was a free seed from Baker Creek back in 2017, and that makes the seeds about 8 years old. All the green prints came up in my other tray that had trouble. So I'm just going to replant some again here in my solo cups and label them and see how they do. But these have been my favorites for a long time of the green tomatoes. Hey, have you liked and subscribed? How will you know the results of all this tomato drama if you don't subscribe? If you don't hit the notification button? You'll never know. You'll never know. Did the tomatoes even come up? What does a green prince look like? You may never know. That would be sad. So some of you might be a little bit worried. I am planting these in late April. And you might say, Jess, those aren't going to have enough time to mature. You need to go get plants from the nursery, right? So if you're worried about that, here is what I want you to do. I want you to go to your local nursery. I want you to buy a plant, a tomato plant that's like six inches to a foot tall. And I want you to get yourself a pack of seeds. And on the same day, when it's time, when it's planting day for you, I want you to plant right next to each other in the same conditions the plant you got from the nursery, and in the other spot plant 3 seeds just to make sure you get one come up, and see what happens. You tell me what happens, because I've done this before. I've had someone tell me, oh my God, you're never gonna get a tomato. You have to go buy them from the nursery, right? And I planted, and I insisted it would be fine. They insisted I needed nursery tomatoes and went and bought them for me. And I planted them side by side. And at first, of course, the nursery tomato was taller, right? Because the other one was a seed in the ground. So of course it's taller than a seed in the ground. And then little by little, they started to do this until the seed was way taller and bore way more fruit. So if you're worried, if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a polytunnel, oh my gosh, I don't have time, listen, our ancestors had to wait till winter passed to grow their stuff, okay? Like, go put a seed in the ground. It's okay. Really, you'll be fine. You'll get tomatoes. Just plant them when the time is right for your area, and you'll do fine. Kind of wondering if this tray on the bottom kept too much moisture in here, and maybe the roots rotted a little bit. So I'm kind of wondering if that was the issue, because I did water them when I put them out, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe I overwatered them. So probably user error. So in the end, what all got planted? Well, we've got 100 Suns, spoon tomatoes, a Tennessee Gold, 2 of the small yellow and orange tomatoes that my mother saved on a paper towel, 2 Princip Borghese, at least 1 Green Prince, Sun Gold, 2 Stupus. I've actually never tried this type of tomato before. I've never grown it before. We're going to see how it does here in Tennessee. 2 Dad's Sunset, a Mr. Stripey, and that's right, 1 unlabeled tomato. Why? I was too busy filming and yapping, wasn't watching what I was doing, and I have 1 unlabeled cup. So this one, if I had to guess, is either an extra Green Prince or an extra Mr. Stripey. I guess we'll find out eventually. In conclusion, thanks for following along, guys. I really appreciate each and every one of you who has watched my videos and supported the channel here in its early time. This is only the 7th video released at this point, so I just want to thank every one of you who has watched, liked, subscribed, left a comment. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for supporting my channel.